The first speaker that's up tonight, his name is Jon A from Syracuse, New York, and his topic is what makes me my ultimate problem. So we welcome Jon.
Jon.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jon. I'm an addict.
Hey,
Hey,
Jon.
Jon.
I'm grateful to be here. And it's likely that I'm the baby here amongst all these people. You know, I don't think we give enough, I want to say, respect to the people that came here before us. You know, while here, I might be the baby. Where I live, I'm somebody with a lot of clean time. And, you know, I don't even like, you know, I feel like I wish I knew something, you know, about the program a lot of times. You know, I got to be on my best behavior and be good. It wasn't always like that for me. Stuff would come up and it would just come out. You know, I would never like be able, I had no filter. Like somebody who would be sharing in a meeting. And one of the things they might say is, let me tell you where we're at. And the first thing out of my mouth is, no one cares where you're at. I want to know what you're going to do about it. Because that's how I was taught. And while somebody might be like, okay, that's not okay, the people that came here before me taught me some stuff about our steps and traditions. And one of the things they taught me about our fifth tradition is to keep our meetings recovery oriented. So using our meetings as a place to just dump is really not what it's for. Like my sponsor gave me a good lesson when I was new here. He told me, you bring your disease to me, you bring your recovery to the meetings. If you don't have a recovery, don't talk. Keep your mouth shut. So I would call him up with all the nonsense going on in here, which was a lot. I had, you know, 25 people living up there, maybe more. Sometimes they'd all talk to each other and I couldn't shut the noise up. You know, I knew that there was something wrong with me when I got here. Even before that, I overdosed when I was just a teenager and they took me to the hospital. And my sister brought me up, so, you know, we didn't really have parents at our home, so to speak. And when they realized that my sister wasn't of age to be a legal guardian, they took me to a mental hospital and made me a ward of the state. And in order for me to get out of there, I had to write a letter to Division of Mental Health in Latham, New York. You know, they get that letter and just toss it aside, you know, just went on for whatever. But the long and short of it is my time there, the first thing that they did is they brought me into a room with all the healthcare professions and they said, well, we got to come up with a treatment plan for you. And they're all talking about all this stuff. And I looked over and I saw the physician's desk reference over there in the, you know, in the bookcase. I knew what that was. And they're talking about a treatment plan. I said, well, get the book out. Let me show you what I need. They didn't see the humor in it. Two big guys came in, tackled me. They had a needle and they stuck me in my butt. And I woke up like 2 days later and I couldn't move. Like all my muscles were locked up. And they came into my room. They had me like, you know, strapped down to the bed and they said, oh, if you're going to be good, we'll let you up. I said, oh, yeah, I'm going to be good. As soon as they let me up, I ran down the hall and they chased me and they did the same thing again. This went on for like weeks because I was thick up here because I got in the middle of what was going on. And then one day it dawned on me, I'm just going to go with whatever they do. And if they give me some medication I like, I'm going to spit it out. And that's what I did. But I would have kept fighting if I didn't have that quick moment of clarity. So when I got to this program, I was the same way. I fought with everything. They told me, you know, I went to a meeting and they told me, don't get into a relationship. And I said, okay, how long do I have to wait? Like, what's the magical day? What is it, like a week? What, 2 months? 3 years? I don't know, you know. And then they brought this guy up to speak at our retreat. or no, it was like at our convention or something, like the first one they had in our area, like, you know, big thing. This guy had like 17 years, and his name was Greg. And he talked about 5 relationships, but none of them were with a girl. And I'm like, that can't be right. It's not possible. You know, he talked about the relationship with the coin, you know, with the 5 sides of the coin, you know, God, self, society, service, your sponsor. So anyway, I'm fighting the whole time I'm here, you know, and I was probably clean, I don't know, not even a year, and the police came and picked me up on a warrant for something I did before I had gotten clean. And of course, they threw me in jail, and you know, I was able to get out, but when I got out, they wanted to put me on probation. And you know, like, I could have probably been okay being on probation, but I didn't want to follow the rules because I got in the way. I didn't want to follow any rules. They said, okay, here's what you got to do. They get this paper out, and what it had on it was, it had a list of all the meetings I had to go to, but there wasn't one NA meeting on that list. Because at that time, NA wasn't anywhere they would send anyone. They told me, literally, the probation officer said to me, people cannot get clean there. They can't, not only can they not get clean there, they go there for women or to sell drugs or something like that, but people can't get clean there. And I said to the lady, well, this is nonsense. I've been clean, you know, almost a year. I'm doing good. You know, when I was, for all intents and purposes, I wasn't using, you know, I wasn't employable yet, but I wasn't using. So I was doing good, and I wasn't getting arrested for anything that I was currently doing, you know, which was a miracle for somebody like me who'd been in and out of jail most of their life. And she looked at me and she goes, you're going to sign this paper right here. And it was called the Conditions of Probation. And she goes, you have to sign it. So I signed the paper. I came back in 2 weeks like she told me to, and I gave her the meeting sheet. And she goes, well, there isn't any AA meetings on here. And I looked at her and I said, they threw me out of AA. They told me I couldn't come back. And she goes, well, why'd they do that? I said, well, because I was talking about drugs. She goes, well, you know, you just have to change the words around. I go, I'm not doing that. I wasn't going to start out when I was sharing with a lie because I didn't believe in the first step. It didn't work for me. I wasn't powerless over a substance. That wasn't my problem. Whatever was going on with me was up here. And I had figured that out. I was smart enough to figure that out right then and there, but no one else wanted to believe me. So she said to me, she goes, listen, you're going to come back in 2 weeks. You're going to have some AA meetings on that, okay? I looked right at her. I said, no, not going to AA. Already been going to NA. Almost got a year clean. I'll keep going. Came back in 2 weeks. Took the papers. She goes, you don't have any AA meetings on here. I said, I'm not going. She goes, you signed the sheet. The Conditions of Probation says you must attend 5 AA meetings a week. I said, I'm not going to AA. She looked right at me. She says, you're going to come back here in 2 weeks. You're going to have some AA meetings out there. We're going to have a problem. Well, I came back in 2 weeks. She looked at the sheet, no AA meetings. She called 2 guys, and out of the hallway, I looked at them. I go, these guys look like cops. They're undercover, though. And she goes, I want to introduce you to these 2. And they locked me up and took me across the street. However, when they took me across the street, they violated my probation. No bail. Little sticker on your file. No bail. Now, my sponsor at the time worked for the county. He was like in the, you know, mental health, something. You know, he had some kind of job with the county. So long and short of it is he's able to sneak a book in there. You know, and now this was it. I was ready. I'm going to kill myself now. I'm done. I tried this program. I did everything they told me to do, kind of, right? I was, you know, I was a little willful, right? So I wouldn't go to AA. You know, but the reality of it is the jail ministry got me out because when the guy came and talked to me, he genuinely saw that I was trying to change. I just wasn't right, you know, like up here, I wasn't right yet. I wasn't willing to surrender. I was still going to fight with anyone I could. So he got me out, and the first thing I did is I went to my sponsor's house and we were saying, this is a bunch of crap. They threw me in jail for going to NA. I go, what is wrong with this? There's got to be, like, what can be done? And he goes, that sounds to me like it's a PI issue, man. I said, well, what's PI? He goes, We'll go to that area service committee and see what them people are doing, find out. And you know, I went to area service and lo and behold, they did not have a functioning PI committee. And they all looked at me, you want to be the chair? I'm like, what? Who, me? Yeah, you. You want to be the PI chair? I'm thinking, I don't know, what do they do? They told me what they did. So, you know, I got a couple people to help me, like 4 or 5 people that had a little bit more time than me. And ironically, we put a presentation on for the county, the police officers, the probation officers, the judges, treatment centers. And they came. We had the state of New York come, and next thing I know, the state of New York's calling me saying, we want you to come and put a presentation on in Rochester, Buffalo, Albany. We want you to tell them people about NA. I didn't have any information. You know, we showed up there. I didn't even have any literature to give the people. You know, the other fellowship showed up with a book that was like the size of that door that opened up. It was a big literature rack full of stuff for free to give away. We didn't even have meeting schedules to give them. Nothing. But I'll tell you something amazing happened. Those people were interested in what we were saying because they realized that addicts were coming in droves to get here. In the area I lived in, we didn't even have a meeting every day. We only had a meeting like 4 or 5 days a week. And we would have to migrate over to the other fellowship. And they did not want us there. They didn't want us there. But because I couldn't surrender, I got in my way. You know, I've gotten in my way in my own recovery a lot. Not as much today, but in my early recovery, you know, I remember I had like 5 years clean. And I was with this girl, man. I don't know how much clean time. She might not have had any, I don't know. But the reality of it is she left me after she robbed me of everything that I had accumulated, which wasn't a lot. And she left me, and I was lost. I was completely lost. I was either gonna use her off myself. I didn't know which one. And I remember calling my sponsor up, and I said to him, I can't do it anymore, man. I don't know what the hell's going on. I had done 3 steps, first, second, and third. But I want to tell you that prior to that, I read the basic text. And I read it, all the personal stories first, because I was looking for a way to disqualify myself. And I figured if there's anything in any of these stories that I haven't done, I'm out. Like if anyone has pulled anything that I haven't done, or I've done some stuff these people haven't done, I'm not going. I'm not going anymore. So I started in the back and read my way to the front. That's how I did it. But what ended up happening was that when I called him up and he said, well, come on over to the house. Or no, he didn't say that. I told him I was gonna kill myself, and he hung up on me. And I called him back. And I said, man, you hung up on me. I just told you I was gonna run my car into a tree on, Erie Boulevard. He goes, yeah, I knew you'd call back. He said, let's go down to the Denny's on the boulevard. We'll have coffee. We'll talk about it. So we talked about doing the step work. That's what we talked about. We talked about me working the traditions, me doing the step work. The problem wasn't going to meetings. I was going to all the meetings that we had. The problem is that I wasn't doing all the stuff that I would see people in the meetings. They looked like they were doing good. They were wearing nice clothes or had a nice car. I'd be on, look at that guy, man. He's good. My God. I was comparing what I felt like inside to what they looked like outside. Mm-hmm. So my answer wasn't what you think it is. My answer is I'm going to go get me something. I'm going to go buy a new car. Now, I want to tell you that my credit score might have been 150. I don't even know if it's that low, but it was somewhere around there. So I went down to this place, and I remember looking at the guy, and he says, you're a first-time car buyer? I said, yeah, something like that. I'm a first-time car buyer here. Yeah. He goes, well, how's your credit? I said, I don't know. I haven't tried to get any credit. And I had a pretty decent job. So, he said, well, go pick something out on the lot. So I went out on the lot, and here's my mindset. If I'm going to get something, I'm going to buy the most expensive thing on this lot, because if I'm going to get turned down, I want to at least feel like I'm going for something. So I went out there, and I picked out some truck that was like ridiculous money, okay? So I go home, I'm thinking, I tell my sponsor about it, and he says, well, you know, it's in God's hands. You know, you do something like that, you fill out the paperwork, and the rest of it's out of your hands. And then he said to me before we hung up, I want you to know that your higher power could have a sense of humor. You know, I hope you picked out something you could afford to pay for, because you likely could get it. So the guy calls up, and I'm waiting for him to say, hey, you know, the loan didn't go through. He says, you need to bring me a set of tags and your insurance down here. You know, we got your car all ready to go, your truck here. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, oh, yeah, it's all set. You got your loan and everything. That can't be possible. So I go down there, you know, give them all the stuff. And they got me a loan at like 24%. Now, hang on, because it's going to get better. My car payment was like $570 a week, but my insurance was like $340 a month because my driving record was so bad. But I was only making $200 a week. Take home, because I was paying child support, right? So, you know, I did the math. I said, maybe if I live in the car and, you know, I don't put gas in it, I don't eat. I'm thinking about all this. Like, it went through my head. So one day I woke up and the car was gone. This is after I had it for 3 months and I was going to meetings. And people would see me in that car with some new clothes on, and they would say, he's doing good. Look at him. They were saying what I was saying, right? So anyway, I woke up one morning, the car was gone. I'm like, someone stole it. I can't believe it. I lived in a nice area. Someone stole my car. So I called the police and they came up. Now, first thing the cop says to me, he said, we'll file a report. He goes, did you make all your payments? I thought about it. I said, I don't know, man. I might have missed one, maybe 2. He said, you missed 3 maybe? I said, I don't know. I'm not really paying attention. I'd only had it for 3 months. You know, I don't remember. Maybe I didn't make any. He said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to call Tri-State Auto where they auction the cars off and get them. We'll see if they got your car. Hypothetically, maybe they got it and it didn't get stolen. You know, that happens sometimes. He was a really nice police officer. So he calls up and sure, lo and behold, they had that car. He says, put him on the phone. So he puts me on the phone. The guy says, you can come and get it. You bring us a check for $2,900. You got 24 hours to get the money. We're going to destroy your tag, sell it at auction, and sue you for the difference, which is exactly what they did, because I couldn't come up with $2,900. So now when I go to meetings, everyone's like, where's your car? Well, you know, I had to sell it. You know, I can't remember what crap I told them. I'm sure it wasn't the truth. But it was, again, me not being able to get out of my own way, man. You know, I couldn't get out of my own way. In recovery, I couldn't get out of my own way. When my sponsor finally convinced me to stop doing all the crazy stuff I was doing, you know, it wasn't because I wanted to. I was in so much pain. I was thinking, like, I was going to meetings and telling people, I'm going to put a gun in my mouth and pull the trigger and blow my head off. And I had like some clean time. Not a lot, 5 years. That's crazy to be thinking that way at 5 years. I'd worked 3 steps. Now here's what happened. When I got here and I read all the steps, I thought these people aren't that smart. There's no way you got to do all this. I'm going to condense all this stuff down to like 3 steps, 1, 9, and 12. I got problems. I'll admit it. I'm sorry that I did what I did, and let me help you. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't want to do any of the other stuff. I'm being honest, because I got in my own way. But see, God had a way of saying, okay, you know. And every time I had a brilliant idea, it went bad. It went bad. I had a lot of brilliant ideas in my recovery. Yeah. I remember one time I did a job for a guy, and the way he wanted to pay me is he wanted to give me a boat. I needed the money, and I thought, why not take the boat? What could it hurt? Some 30-foot wooden boat that needed like more, you know, what it needed was to be lit on fire and barbecue. That's what it needed. But I thought to myself, I'm going to take this boat, fix it up, I'll live on it. I mean, I don't know if you guys know where I live, but it's cold for 9 months of the year, and the lakes are all frozen. But I thought, I'm going to live on it. That's my mindset. I owed the marina more money for storage and parts and work and labor and stuff than the boat was worth. The guy come to me one day and said, we're taking it. What do you mean? He goes, we're taking your boat. You signed this thing. We're just going to take it. I said, oh, go ahead. You can have it. You know? Because of my mind up here. I got in the way of my own recovery all the time. You know, today, like, I see myself making mistakes in recovery. I don't let myself, like, get behind enemy lines. I can't. Like, the thing that I'll say that's completely the truth for me to say, and it's painful to say it, is that I did stuff here I didn't do when I was getting high. Like, I came into this program, and I looked around in the rooms, and I said, this is a whole group of people I've never taken advantage of. That was my first thought. These people don't know me. This is, you know, like, when I needed to use, I never went to the same dealer because I did something to the last one. You know, I either took some money up or, you know, something. I did something. Couldn't go back there. You know, so I did the same thing in here. So people were, you know, whether it was with, you know, females or whatever, I had to stop doing that stuff. And ultimately, for me, the turning point was the pain of, you know, there's nothing worse than feeling that way. Like, I'd come to this program, I'd watch my life get a little bit better, and then I like was sabotaging it, like completely. Like I would, like a, you know, almost like a kamikaze test pilot. You know, you only got one shot. You know, and so it's really hard, you know, for me to think about that stuff like today, but it's really part of my story. You know, and it's kind of made me be aware of how the program needs to go, you know, like how I need to live it and what I need to do. I've always had an amazing sponsor. So the first guy I got was one of the founding members of our fellowship where I lived. When I got through with all 12 steps with him, I called him up and said, I'm done with 12 steps. Okay, I'm gonna come over and do it. Because then I was on fire to do the work. And he said to me, he said, okay, come on over. When I got there, he told me, yeah, I haven't written this step yet. I was hoping that, you know, I'd beat you to it, but, you know, once you got going, man, I couldn't keep up with you. So, you know, we're going to go through it together. So I knew at that point I needed to get another sponsor. But I'll tell you, I did something different. Now, in the past, what I would have done is I would have went to his house, robbed it, not told him I was, you know, getting a new sponsor. That's the kind of person I was, you know, and then went and got another sponsor and then never called him again. You know, like the way I moved out. I moved out on the 31st at 12 a.m. You know? So I told him I'm going to get a new sponsor. I want to keep you. We're still friends today, me and him. I talked to him. I mean, he, you know, I don't see him a lot, but we're still friends today. So I went and got another sponsor. I went to a convention and I found this guy. He was a good guy. And, you know, at that time I had stuff going on, like where I didn't have the crazy sabotage going on, but I would like get involved in all the other stuff everyone was doing. You know what I mean? Like the 10th tradition kind of sucks. Says I ain't no opinion on outside issues. Hence the NA name would never be drawn into controversy, you know, kind of thing. Well, like if I get involved in stuff I shouldn't be involved in, you know, our fellowship was really small, so there was only a handful of people, so everyone knew what everyone was doing. But I get involved in all that, poke my nose where it didn't belong and all that. So what happened was I didn't realize that I asked this guy to be my sponsor. I would call him up. He lived in Ohio. I would call him up and I'd start talking to him about all these people that I didn't like, and the phone would go dead. So I'd call him right back and pick right up where I left off, and the phone would go dead again. You know, I think, and now this is at a time when it costs money to call. This wasn't like free stuff now, like today. So I called him back and I said, hey man, I'm telling you something important to me. you know, talking about these people and stuff. And every time I start going on and on, you know, the line goes dead. And all he said was, imagine that. That's all he said. But what dawned on me was that he didn't want me to talk bad about anyone. And whenever I called him up and talked bad about anyone, he hung up on me. And when I called him up and I'd be talking and swear words would come out of my mouth, because let me tell you, my vocabulary was limited to 4 words, very limited. This is what he would say to me: you're a really, really smart guy. I know you have better words than that to use. Find them. So if I would call him up and I would be, you know, saying all those words, the line would go dead. Ironically, I just had a couple little kids. You know, they were small. They were like, I don't know, maybe say 3 and 1, 2 little boys. And I was the caregiver during the day because my wife had a kind of job she couldn't get away from. Mine was way more flexible. So what happened is I would be in the office in the basement talking to people on the phone, you know, saying all them words. And one day she comes home from work and the 3-year-old goes up to her and he says to her, "Fun King, Mom." She said, "What'd you say?" He said, "Fun King." And she calls me in the other room. She goes, "What are you saying around the house here?" I go, "I'm not doing anything." Why? She goes, you know what Nicholas just said? What did he say? What did he do? She goes, "Oh, no. You're not going to be talking like that, you know." Because, see, that's one thing about me. Like, my wife is completely normal. She never even had a parking ticket. And when I found that out, I'm like, oh, my God, she hasn't tried hard enough. What is wrong with her? Like, that, you know, that's my thinking, though. It wasn't like, you know, but the whole point is that she didn't want the kids to be like that. And she was absolutely right. And the sponsor I had, he was going to help me change. I wasn't even asking him to. It was just going like that. Again, it was my higher power. It wasn't me, because I was jamming myself up. You know, the other thing I learned about in the practice of step 3, when you make the decision to turn your will and your life over to the care of God, is you understand Him. It's all areas of your life. Here's the way I would do it. All right, listen, man. I'm going to turn my will and my life when it comes to drugs, okay? But the rest of the stuff I got, relationships, money, I got all this stuff. And those areas of my life were falling apart. Were falling apart. And one day it dawned on me, because my sponsor said, you know, you could turn all this stuff over to your higher power. Let him do it all. I'm like, what are you talking about? Just go all day, give it all to him, man. Let him do the money, you know, let him do the relationships, just let him do everything. I'm like, I don't know, man. He could screw this up. He could, man. He doesn't know what I got going on. That was my thought. You know? I'll never forget my sponsor said to me, he goes, listen, when is the last time God called you and asked you for help? I said, well, never. He goes, exactly. So, you know, like, he was never asking me for help. I needed to ask him. But the only time I ever asked him was when I was, you know, like this, right? I'm like this in the back of the patrol car going somewhere, never where I wanted to be, saying, I swear if you get me out of this. So I was always asking for help, but I was always asking for the wrong kind of help. So today, like, you know, through working a lot of this stuff, I'm trying hard to not get in the way, you know. And sometimes, you know, like, if I think about like that, like I want to talk about my wife a little. She's normal, right? But one of the things I realized whenever she was going through stuff, she just wanted me to listen. She didn't want me to fix her. Yeah. She just wanted me to listen to her. And I always was, and she said to me, she'd say it all the time, listen, I don't want you to fix me. I just want you to listen to what I'm saying to you. And I'd tell her, do this, do this, do that, do that. You know, I had to learn how to listen to her. Like, listen what she wanted. Because my mind was always going like thinking, oh, you know, I know what you're doing wrong here. You got to do this. Like, to be a better person, I had to, like, not react. I had to respond to get out of my own way. Like, my higher power was always telling me, just respond. Like, I go to a meeting today, I'm in the meeting, somebody says, let me tell you where we're at. in the back of my mind, I'm saying, no one cares where you're at, you know? I'm not saying it out loud. I said it out loud, you know? Or somebody comes into one of our meetings and talks about being sober, and the first thing out of my mouth is, you even know what that stands for? And I, rattle off what it stands for. And, everyone will look at me like, oh, that's not very nice. Because I couldn't get out of my own way. I wouldn't work step 3. I would limit it. I had limited working of step 3. That's a little of it. If you're working the rest of the steps in our traditions, this is what happens to me. Like every day, I work step 1, 2, and 3 at 10, 11, and 12. Every day. And if I do that, step 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 have way less information to be put on them the next time I do them. Like I just wrote a 4th step. I used a step guide, not the notebook. I'm talking about the 4-step guide that they made like way back in the 80s. Like, the 4-step guide for now. It's a little brown pamphlet. I don't know if anyone in here ever seen it, but because right, the sponsor I got, he would never let me use the workbook. He's like, no, you're not using that. Because he knows me, and I would put yes or no for every question. You can do it. I looked through it. I said, yeah, no, yeah, all done with this. Here you go. Next assignment. So look up all the words, that kind of thing. But in doing that, I didn't have that much stuff on there. Like the first time I read that thing and did it, the first time I wrote a 4-step, I called my sponsor up. I was so excited. There was one thing in here I never did. I didn't do anything with any animals. I was ecstatic. Like, you're not going to believe it, but listen, I didn't do this. This is the only thing in here I did not do. I was proud of myself. But now I'm proud of myself because I have all these areas where I see how I've grown. Like I don't have any resentments. Man, I'd harbor those things and I'd be having like revenge fantasies. Anyone ever have any of them? You guys know what I'm talking about? You're thinking about someone, like what you're going to do to them. Like I'd be driving down the road and somebody would cut me off. What's the problem? That they cut me off? No, the problem is what I'm going to do to them when I catch up to them. There's the problem. It was always it for me. And it was my sponsor, the kids, all that stuff helped me slow down. Because now I got 2 little kids in the car and I'm the one in the right lane. I remember my little 3-year-old saying, Daddy, that guy's waving. I look over, he's flipping me off because I was going too slow. But they didn't know any better. They thought he was waving. But see, that wouldn't have been me. Like in the past, I would have chased that guy down and rammed him. That's what's going through my mind. So today, I'm trying to be the best person I can be. I am trying to become the person that God wants me to be. And I don't even know what that person is. And it's through, like somebody was saying it earlier, I have been so lucky. I have so many people that I sponsor. And it dawned on me one day, you know why I have so many people I sponsor? It isn't because there's anything fabulous about me. It's because God's saying, you need a lot of help. Let me send all these people to you so you can't get in trouble. They're calling you all day long. I got this step written. I got that step written. And that's one thing ironic. When the people you sponsor are doing step work, you cannot not do step work. You have to do it. So what's happened for me today is through all this, is I've been able to change as a person. Like, in spite of myself, in spite of me getting in the way of everything that I've gotten in the way of in my recovery, I've managed to stay clean. I managed to not relapse, I remember my sponsor saying to me, relapse doesn't have to be part of your story. And I don't want it to be, so I'm grateful to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Love you.